You're in Braves country.
Good afternoon, Braves country. So we're coming to you a little later in the day today. Had some issues that we had to take care of, but nonetheless, we are here and we are ready for another big weekend of baseball. So let's get that rolling as the Atlanta Braves have a now 3.5 game lead in the National League East. 3.5 games in the National League East. And that comes via our big win, walk-off win last night as Jock Peterson got the win for us. Obviously, there were a lot of things going on last night as we had 5 home runs, 2 of them by Stephen Vogt. We'll get into that here in a second. And the Atlanta Braves, while they win, the Phillies lose in dramatic fashion. They were shocked in their own home stadium as Colorado came back and won it in the 9th inning. And the Mets continue to struggle. They lose at the Miami Marlins. So what do we have going on today? The Atlanta Braves are heading to a 3-game series. Once again, they will be at home, but they're going to play the Miami Marlins, and we know how pesky the Marlins are. They have been our entire season. They tend to play the Braves very tough, but the Braves tend to get the best of them. But tonight is going to be a very tough game because the Atlanta Braves will send Ian Anderson to the mound, but they will go up against Trevor Rogers. Trevor Rogers, though his record is not indicative of what his season has been like. He's 7-6, but he's a 2.52 ERA, and he is an absolute nightmare to go up against. While that is going on, the Mets will host the New York Yankees. So it is a Subway series, a 3-game series, as we remember the 20th anniversary of 9/11. It's why they picked the Yankees and Mets to play this weekend. So that is obviously the bigger story in Major League Baseball, as tomorrow, Saturday, September 11th, will mark the 20th anniversary of when those towers fell and when America realized they were under attack. And of course, it brings a flood of memories back for everybody. We will talk about that quite a bit on the Dixie Football Nation kickoff show, our college football kickoff show tomorrow. But I'm going to try to keep this a little short. But we do remember, as Braves fans, Braves Mets, they were the first to come back, national televised game. Remember how the Mets won in dramatic fashion, and for once we were not mad at the New York Mets or the New York Mets fans, because all what New York City had been through, it almost felt like it was due justice for the Mets to come back and win that game. And of course, that was a nationally televised game, and everybody remembers that very, very well. With that aside, putting all that aside, Yankees and Mets tonight will be Jordan Montgomery versus Tyler McGill. That should be a tough pitching matchup. Now, I got to give the edge to the Yankees, but they have been reeling. They just got swept at home 4 games by the Toronto Blue Jays. They are now clinging to that wild card. So hopefully they come out swinging and they put the Mets away. And while that is going on, the Phillies are basically at a country club all weekend long, because they're going to be at home against the Colorado Rockies. And the Rockies do have some feistiness in them, and it seems like the Phillies have struggled against them quite a bit. So with all that being said, I would have to say that I would not be shocked if the Rockies grab a game, heck, maybe even 2, but Philly should go out and dominate this, because let's be honest, the Philadelphia Phillies are a much better baseball team than the Rockies, but we need as many upset wins as possible. Because if you look at the schedule, side by side until we get to that last week of the season. The Phillies have a much easier road than the Atlanta Braves, but we're starting to get there. And the fact that we have a 3.5 game lead going into what is essentially the final 2 weeks plus of the stretch that we're trying to get to that Philly series at home in Atlanta in the final week of the season and at home against the Mets in the final week of the season. The Braves are doing pretty darn good. I would be a little more concerned had Atlanta not had the lead in the division going into this weekend. If it was a flat-footed tie or we're trying to catch the Phillies, when you look at the Phillies schedule, it is very, very easy compared to Atlanta's schedule. Now, tomorrow, Atlanta will be 7:20 again. It'll be Charlie Morton versus Elisa Hernandez, another really good young pitcher in that Marlins staff, really good young pitching in that Marlins staff. The Phillies will send Zach Wheeler versus Kyle Freeland. Kyle Freeland has had some good outings, but he's gotten hammered a couple of times too. In fact, his last time out earlier this week, he was hit pretty hard. So we hope that he comes up with a big game on that tomorrow. Their game, by the way, is at 6:05 Eastern. And Yankees Mets, as you can imagine, it is the national game of the night. It's on Fox. It's what everyone will be watching in all likelihood, along with the college football. But if you are locked into baseball, you're going to be locked into Yankees Mets in New York City, the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And considering all that's going on in the world right now, we hope for a very, very peaceful weekend. So Sunday, Marlins and Braves. Braves are going to be sending Max Fried to the mound versus Edwin Cabrera, guy who's 0-1 with a 7.11 ERA. The series is in Atlanta. We've got the dominant matchup on Sunday. I would suspect Atlanta wins this series. Now you love a sweep, but I could live with just 2 out of 3, which means we got to get either tonight Ian Anderson or tomorrow night Charlie Morton. I'd say we're going to be favored in both, but to expect a sweep against one of your division rivals, that's a little daunting. I never expect a sweep. I'm always happy with 2 out of 3 unless you absolutely have to get a sweep. And so now we go to the Phillies and Rockies. Their matchup on Sunday, they definitely have the advantage. It's Aaron Nola versus Chichi Gonzalez, who has a 6.50 ERA. And Yankees Mets, that game will be the 8:00 Eastern. It's going to be the Sunday night game of the week, ESPN, 8:00 Eastern, as opposed to your normal 7, which is a little odd, but I believe that they have something special lined up, which is why they're doing that. It's going to be Carrasco, and the Yankees have not named their starting pitcher yet. So there you have it for the Atlanta Braves. And look, we're playing well. When you look at what's going on, and you're looking about some of the big storylines with the Atlanta Braves right now, I mean, let's look at it. You've got to argue that Austin Riley might be the MVP of the National League right now. He has been more consistent and more tried and true, coming up big again last night. Not knocking anything on Freddie Freeman, but I am concerned that Freeman and Riley will split votes in the South, and they will knock each other out of contention for the MVP. But as for my money right now, the season ends the way it is, Austin Riley's my MVP. And honestly, Freddie Freeman is a close second. You've got some guys out in San Francisco that I would probably put up there. And at one point, DeGrom had an argument, but he just could not stay healthy. We'll be watching that race as well as the division race. The Atlanta Braves have a hell of an MVP race in front of them. And Jorge Soler has really started to hit well since he came over to Atlanta. Duvall came up with a big hit last night. Peterson obviously had hit 2 knocks and 1 very big hit last night. And Enoa, he pitched okay, but we really need to start getting better performances out of Enoa and Tuki Toussaint and some of the others. Just kind of going over this because we haven't done a show in a little over a week. And so that's just the thought process there. And then Will Smith, I don't know about y'all, Braves country. At what point does he lose his closer role? At what point does Snickers say, look, I just can't trust you in the ninth anymore? You got to light some kind of fire under his ass, because you're going to hit October and this is going to be acceptable. It's pretty much known. If the Braves only have a 1-run lead going to the ninth inning, they're not going to hold it, because Will Smith is going to give up a run. Now, last night, Braves country, they were trying to argue that, well, that wasn't really his fault because Jock Peterson should have had the ball at the wall. That catch at the wall was not a gimme. If it was a routine catch, I'd say yes. But that was going to take an outstanding catch to make that play. And the reason why they're going to take an outstanding catch was because he absolutely roasted the ball off of Will Smith. And this is what we're seeing every time out in the ninth inning. And I'm, for one, I'm over it. I've been against putting Rodriguez in the closer role because he has such a high contact rate. But my God, it's time for a change. It's time to put Rodriguez in the ninth inning. I can give you Will Smith possibly in the eighth. I really prefer pushing him to the seventh, to be perfectly honest with you. Matzik has been really good. He wasn't outstanding last night, but he has been a very good pitcher. And Luke Jackson got banged around last night. So if I'm building it typically, I think I just want to go best option available with Rodriguez closing and give him a chance to close. He did a pretty good job in Pittsburgh. But this has got to end. You're not going to beat the good teams. Yeah, you're going to squeeze by the Nationals. But if we get to October, if we're lucky enough to get to October, teams like the Brewers, the Giants, the Dodgers, they're going to feast. And remember something, Will Smith could not get anybody out, which is why he was not in the closer role against the Dodgers in the NLCS last year. And he's actually pitching worse this year. It's time for a change. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over and expect different results. Are we insane? Because it seems like we are. We will see you next week when we kick off. I guess it will be Tuesday when Monday. We will be here Monday with Teamus, because we're going to talk Braves, but we're also going to talk the AL East. So have a great weekend, y'all, and thanks for listening to Braves Country. Let's hope we can get the brooms out, but I'll take 2 of 3, because as you wind down the calendar, one more win, doesn't matter what the Phillies do. If you get one more win, that calendar just got a little shorter. The pressure got a little tighter for Philly. Go Braves. We'll see you next week.